morning, everyone. So I'm just letting you know that I'm going to record the session and I will upload the session once we have finished the class. Can you all hear me?
Yes, madam.
Right. Okay, so I'm going to share with you the screen. Okay, before anything, I will just give you an overview of what we're going to do today. Basically, I'm going to talk to you what is argumentative essay. Last week, we did some kind of argumentative practice. Not last week, last 2 weeks. And then last week you did your listening test, right? So last 2 weeks we did an argumentative practice where you have to, based on one statement, you have to choose a side and then you discuss whether you agree or disagree with my statement. So for today, we are going to translate whatever it is that you had done last 2 weeks from something that is speaking into something that is in a written form, which would be the argumentative essay. So you are going to look at this right here. Okay. So those who have already seen the slide, I'm sorry about that. I don't think I should create a new one, but anyway, this is just the first slide. I'm going to reintroduce, or maybe you should say, refresh your memory about how to do outlining, what is the proper way of constructing an essay, and afterwards we will go straight away to argumentative essay and what is or are needed in constructing a good one. Right, so let's start. Okay, week 6 outlining. Basically, this part is the part where we look again at the structure of an essay, what is needed. So basically there are 3 parts, okay? Introduction, body paragraph, and conclusion. So introduction consists of hook and thesis statement. Can anybody tell me what is a thesis statement? Or what do you think it is? Any idea? Anyone?
The topic sentence.
Thesis statement and topic sentence are basically 2 different things. Okay, so I hope that I have started to make you thinking about what thesis statement is. Okay, now let's move on. Before we start talking about thesis statement, let's talk about introductory paragraph and why it is important. So there are exactly 4 functions of introduction. It has these 4 important rules which basically attracts the reader's attention. When you start looking at someone, the first 5 seconds when you look at someone, you start to have this kind of first impression on that person, right? That is before that person starts to talk anything. When you see him or her first, you have the first impression. And then when the person starts talking, another 1 or 2 minutes, you have, developed a different kind of impression. The same thing goes when you are writing. So when I first see the writing, the way you write, your handwriting actually gives me a kind of impression. 1. Secondly, I will look at the first or 2 sentences. And that first or 2 sentences will give me an impact, whether it attracts me or it doesn't. So an introductory paragraph plays this important role. If your introduction is not interesting, regardless of how well you discuss the points later on, I might not have the same interest. It has to, I still has to try and continue reading. But if your introductory paragraph play a very, very important role, if it does its role well, then I will keep on reading without having this forced feeling. So it basically attracts the reader's attention, encouraging him or her to continue reading the essay. And it also supplies any background information that the reader may need to understand the essay. Let's say we are talking about one topic. Before you discuss on the importance of it, you need to tell me first what is it about or any history on it. So this introductory paragraph serves as a platform for you to give a background information to your reader so they can fully understand what you are talking about. It presents a thesis statement. This clear, direct statement of the main idea of the paper usually appears near the end of the introductory paragraph. Basically, the thesis statement is the main idea of the whole essay. It indicates a plan of development. In this preview, the major supporting points for the thesis are listed in the order in which they will be presented. In some cases, the thesis and plan of development appear in the same sentence. However, writers sometimes choose not to describe the plan of development. For point 4, some of you may not understand the sentence properly or the point of number 4. I will make sure you understand by showing you example, okay? So anyway, let's start with hope. When you want to start an introductory paragraph, the first thing that is the most important, the basic one would be hope. Because hope is the one that is attracting the reader's attention. So here I listed you 6 types of hope. I believe there are more, but these 6 are the ones that we normally use. Okay, so we have broad to narrow, importance, question, quote, incident, story, and also opposite idea. Now let's talk about broad to narrow. Can I please have one volunteer to read for me the example? Anyone?
Can I try?
Yeah, thank you.
Example, bookstore shelves today are crammed with dozens of different diet books. The American public seems willing to try any sort of diet, especially the ones that promise instant miraculous results. And authors are more than willing to invent new fad diets to cash it on this craze. Unfortunately, some of these fad diets are ineffective or even unsafe. One of the worst fad diets is the Palm Beach plan. It is impractical, doesn't achieve the results it claims, and it is a sure route to poor nutrition.
All right, thank you so much. So when you use a broad to narrow hook, you begin with a broad general statement of the topic and narrow it down to the thesis statement. So for this example right here, at the start, the writer starts off with, there are a lot of different diet books. So we know that he or she plans to talk about diet books. And slowly, he narrows it down to ineffective diet books. So there are a lot of types, there are different diet books, and then there are also those which are not effective enough or unsafe. And narrow down some more to the worst one. Okay, so the worst fad diet is the Palm Beach plan. Now the writer wants to talk about this one particular fad diet, which is the Palm Beach plan. Look at the last sentence. It is impractical, doesn't achieve the results it claims, and is a sure route to poor nutrition. So impractical would be main point 1, doesn't achieve the result it claims, main point 2, and is a sure route to poor nutrition, main point 3. Look at the sentence again. In this preview, the major supporting points for the thesis are listed in the order in which they will be presented, meaning this is the first paragraph, introductory paragraph. Second paragraph that comes right after would be main point 1. So the writer is going to be talking about how Palm Beach plan is impractical. Perhaps the way the diet is carried out is not so feasible. It is impractical. People basically cannot do it. Doesn't achieve the result it claims. Main point 2 will be the third body paragraph, and the writer is going to describe more about it. And third body paragraph, yes. And on the fourth paragraph, the third main point would be a sure route to poor nutrition. Perhaps it's talking about how it lacks in protein, how it lacks in fiber. It's not such a good fat diet. And lastly, the fifth paragraph, you are going to be talking about the conclusion. So this is what it means by in the order in which they will be presented. So readers have this kind of idea that, all right, I'm going to be reading about this. Basically, the essay is very much organized. During the first paragraph itself, in the introduction, a good writer will tell the reader, this is the structure of the essay. You are going to be reading about this, and also this in the later paragraphs in this essay. But started off with a hook, which is a broad to narrow, right? And then slowly down, narrow it down to the background information. And lastly, talking about the thesis statement. Right, I'll show you more example. Question. Next person, please. Any volunteer to read? Okay, thank you.
Ask one or more questions. Example, what is love? How do we know that we are really in love? When we meet that special person, how can we tell that our feelings are genuine and not merely infatuation? And if they are genuine, will these feelings last? Love, as we all know, is difficult to define, but most people agree that true and lasting love involves far more than mere physical attraction. Love involves mutual respect, the desire to give rather than take, and the feeling of being wholly at ease.
All right, thank you so much. So the writer starts off by asking question. But then again, what is the purpose of asking question? Because you don't know who is going to be reading the essay. You don't know when they are going to be reading your essay. It means that when you ask question, definitely you don't expect an answer, right? So what is the purpose then? Basically, it is to spark interest. It is to stir the thoughts, right? You are thought-provoking. So let's look at the first question. What is love? So when you first read, you know that perhaps this essay is going to be talking about the definition. It's going to, discuss more about what exactly love is about. How do we know that we are really in love? The second question. So this series of short questions, it provokes the thoughts in the reader's mind. So they would want more. At the end, they will start be thinking, all right, perhaps the writer is going to tell us the definition later, and would it be the same as what they are expecting it to be? Perhaps they have this kind of idea already in their head, and they are waiting to see whether is it going to be the same with what the writer is going to be talking about. So anyway, how many questions should you be asking? 1, 2, 3. I think that the three questions would be enough. If you go beyond that, like 4 or 5 questions, that's like a long series of short questions, will somehow turn the readers off. Okay, because if you read a lot of questions, you might be thinking, okay, when are we going to start reading the real thing? I have been reading questions only. Is this like a question bank? I think the highest number would be 3. Don't go beyond that, all right? So the writer starts off by asking questions, and then he talks about love, as we all know, is difficult to define. Then he says that it's far more than mere physical attraction, and then continue with the main idea, which is love involves mutual respect, the desire to give rather than take, and the feeling of being wholly at ease. Basically, this is main point 1, mutual respect, the desire to give rather than take, main point 2, and the feeling of being wholly at ease, main point 3. So this is the first paragraph. The second paragraph, you are going to be reading about main point 1, which is mutual respect. So basically, perhaps the writer is going to be talking about respecting each other's privacy, or maybe what about respect that you want to talk about, Everything about respect should be in the second paragraph, which is talking about the first main point. And then third paragraph, right after the second one, the desire to give rather than take. Perhaps, the feeling of wanting to provide more, doing so many things for the partner. I don't know what it is. So the second main idea, whatever you think should be there, should be in the third paragraph, and followed by the fourth one, and lastly, conclusion. Basically, this last sentence that gives you the main idea of the essay, that is a thesis statement. Right, moving on. Incident or story. Next volunteer, please.
May I?
Thank you. You may.
Incident story. Use an incident or a brief story. Example. Early Sunday morning, the young mother dressed her little girl warmly and gave her a candy bar, a picture book, and a well-worn stuffed rabbit. Together, they drove downtown to a Methodist church. There, the mother told the little girl to wait on the stone steps until children began arriving for Sunday school. Then the young mother drove off, abandoning her 5-year-old because she couldn't cope with being a parent anymore. This incident is one of the thousands of cases of child neglect and abuse that occur annually. Perhaps the automatic right to become a parent should no longer exist. Would-be parents should be forced to apply for parental licenses for which they would have to meet three important conditions.
Right. Thank you so much. So anyone can answer my question, okay? When you first start reading, you know that you are going to be reading about young mother, little girl, right? And once you have finished the first paragraph, what do you think will be the continuation of this essay? What are you going to be reading later? Any idea?
A discussion about parents, what do you call it? Child neglect and abuse.
So you think you are going to be reading about child neglect and abuse?
Or I think parental license, I think.
Would-be parents should be forced to apply for parental licenses for which they would have to meet three important conditions. So look again at this part. However, writers sometimes choose not to describe the plan of development. The previous examples that we have been looking for, each thesis statement includes all three main ideas, which is listed in the order they will be presented. But sometimes the writers choose not to describe the plan of development, would be this one. It means they give you a rough idea, but they did not specify what. For example, would-be parents should be forced to apply for parental licenses for which they would have to meet three important conditions. And later on, they are going to be talking about condition 1 as the first main idea, condition 2 as the second main idea, and condition 3 as the third main idea. However, in introductory paragraph, the writer did not specify what the three conditions are. They just give you a preview, which is three important conditions, which is also acceptable as a thesis statement. Because the function of a thesis statement is to give an overview of the whole essay. It means at the end of introductory paragraph, readers have a rough idea of what they are going to be reading about. Definitely, you know that you are not going to be reading about this young mother and the little girl anymore. It is just a way to start the essay. It's just a way to captivate the reader, a way to making sure that they are, emotionally attracted, emotionally appealing to them. So they feel sorry for this girl and how, this is like one of the 1,000 cases of child neglect, and it relates to the main topic, which is parents or would-be parents should be forced to apply for parental licenses. They cannot be, directly taking care of the kids. This is what the writer is talking about, and they have to meet three important conditions. And the writer is going to be discussing on what the conditions are and close it off with a conclusion, which remind the readers again why the three important conditions are, why these three conditions are very, very important. So this is another way of writing a thesis statement, which is you don't show the plan of development, but you give an overview. Right, moving on, another example. Now let's talk about importance. Next person, please. Just try, don't be shy.
I guess I'll read it.
Okay, thank you.
Diseases like scarlet fever and whooping cough used to kill more young children than any other cause. Today, however, child mortality due to disease has been almost completely eliminated by medical science. Instead, car accidents are the number one killer of our children, and most of the children fatally injured in car accidents were not protected by car seats, belts, or restraints of any kind. Several steps must be taken to reduce the serious dangers car accidents pose to children.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, everyone, what are you going to be reading later on in this essay? What do you think?
The step that to reduce the serious danger car accidents.
Okay, very good. You know that is what you are going to be reading afterwards, meaning that the writer has successfully written a thesis statement for you. That is a thesis statement, which provides an overview of what the essay is going to be about. So based on that sentence, you know that you are going to be reading about the steps taken to reduce serious dangers car accidents pose to children. Let's say without that sentence, okay, the writer did not include the sentence. Reader might be confused because, it started off with scarlet fever, whooping cough, and then talking about child mortality due to disease. And then suddenly in the main body paragraph, you are talking about steps to reduce. So if the thesis statement is not there, right, readers might be confused. What is this essay about actually? So basically, thesis statement alert the reader that you are going to be reading about this. And yep, here's an overview of it. Based on that sentence, again, just like this previous one, it does not show the three main ideas. It just give it a general overview, very, very general, because it says several steps, didn't even identify whether it's 2 or 3. But still, it is a thesis statement because readers like you still understand what the essay is going to be about. And that makes the writer a good writer. Anyway, so he started off with importance. He explained the importance of the topic to the reader. Most of the time, if you have the statistics or even, the number of percentage when you want to talk about something like this, it will add more value to the essay. But if you are talking about doing the essay as a test, then definitely you cannot afford to know what are the statistics, what are the percentages without doing some kind of research on Google. And definitely that is not permissible if you are doing a test. So perhaps you can choose a different type of hooks like, broad to narrow, question, incident or story. Importance functions very, very well. But if you want to include, statistic and things like that, perhaps it's a no. But if you can pull it off without including some kind of research, just like this one, I think it's an okay. It's okay to do so. So this is importance. You are explaining importance of the topic. Now here's a quote. Someone else, please. Next reader.
Fish and visitors, wrote Benjamin Franklin, begin to smell after 3 days. Last summer, when my sister and her family came to spend their 2-week vacation with us, I became convinced that Franklin was right. After only 3 days of my family's visit, I was thoroughly sick of my brother-in-law's lame jokes, my sister's endless complaints about her boss, and their children's constant invasions of our privacy.
All right, thank you so much. So basically, you are using a quotation. You can quote basically anyone. I've heard once that people say you need to quote a notable person, but I believe that is not always the case. You can also quote people important to you, like my father once said, because your father is an important figure in your life, right? Even maybe your mom, but whoever it is, if the person is giving you an impact using his words of quotation, then you may quote him. Sufficient visitors begin to smell after 3 days. Based on that quote alone, we know that the writer is going to be talking about how the writer is feeling or having any kind of negative feelings for the visitors that stay a bit long right after 3 days, more than 3 days. So after only 3 days of my family's visit, I was thoroughly sick of my brother-in-law's lame jokes, main point 1. My sister's endless complaints about her boss, main point 2. And their children's constant invasion of our privacy, main point 3. So second paragraph, main point 1, perhaps the writer is going to be talking about the examples of lame jokes, like, Daddy Pine, I don't know, those dad jokes that thoroughly annoy her. And the sister's endless complaint about the boss, things that she has been complaining about at work, everything in the third paragraph, second main body paragraph. And children's constant invasion of our privacy, perhaps the children has been entering her rooms at will, trying on her makeups. I don't know what other things that the kids had done. So basically, everything should be in their own paragraph. Everything must be divided. How to come up with all these 3 main ideas? First, when you get the question, you need to start thinking, or perhaps I would like to say you need to start do a mind map. Okay, start scribbling, outlining ideas, and then combine them into groups. So what are the bad or negative experience that you have had? List them all down and then combine them together. Which part do they belong to? So whatever it is that is relating to the children, you put them in one category like this, which is main point 3. And then during the fourth paragraph, which is the third main body paragraph, list down whatever it is that is related to the children, what they had done. And whatever it is that is related to your sister, include that about the sister only. Do not crisscross them. Do not put something that is related to children under the brother-in-law's category. You have to divide them so that the readers can easily understand the essay, right? Again, for this particular thesis statement, the writer has actually told you the plan of development, a very, very specific one, main point 1, main point 2, and main point 3, unlike the previous one where it is very much general. Okay, again, both ways of writing the thesis statement are very much acceptable. Which way is better? I cannot say so, because basically it all comes down to your writing skill, how you want to write it, and how you want to develop the essay. That's all up to you. So the last part, opposite idea. Last person, please.
May I try?
Thank you.
When I decided to turn to school at age 35, I wasn't at all worried about my ability to do the work. After all, I was a grown woman who had raised a family, not a confused teenager fresh out of high school. But when I started classes, I realized that those confused teenagers sitting around me were in much better shape for college than I was. They still had all the classroom skills in bright, shiny condition, while mine has grown rusty from disuse. I had to learn how to look at information in the library, how to write a report, and even how to speak up in class discussions.
All right, thank you so much. So you start off with an idea or a situation that is opposite of the one that you will develop. So when you first start reading this, it is as if the writer is not having any kind of difficulty. It's like she is telling you what a smooth journey she is having, continuing her study. But somewhere in the middle of the essay, or not in the middle of the essay, in the middle of this paragraph, the story has shifted from something so positive into something that is opposite to it. So now she realized that those confused teenagers were in much better shape for college than she was. She had a very difficult time to learn how to locate information in a library, main point 1, how to write a report, main point 2, and how to speak up in class discussions, main point 3. So for main point 1, everything related to the difficulties in locating information in library will be there. So for example, like using the computer to find journals, the e-journals, the e-books, what are the things that are very difficult for her, everything in main point one. Okay. And then the second part, how to write a report. There are different types of report and there are different formats to do so. So the things that she needs to learn in order to write a good one, that would be in the second bolded paragraph, which is then paragraph 3. And how to speak up in class discussions. Everything that is difficult for her there would be in the third paragraph, will be discussed there during the, third main idea, fourth paragraph. And lastly, a concluding paragraph at the end to remind the readers that it's not necessarily easy for an adult to continue their studies after they have left school for a long time. So for this one, basically you start with an idea or situation that is opposite. Do you think it's interesting? Yes, I do. All of this has its own appeal, you know. So which one to use, I cannot say for certain because everything goes back to your own preference, one, and secondly, your writing skills. And like I mentioned, everybody has a different way of thinking. If you are the type to talk about something that is more like focusing more on something that is important, focusing more on the statistic of it, the research of it, anything, you go for importance. If you are the one who is like, you know, like to provoke people through provoke their thoughts, maybe you can go for question. And if you love to emotionally appeal to someone, then maybe you can go for incident or story. Again, depending on how you would like to write your essay. Again, it all goes back to your personality. So choose the one that works for you. So let me just make a recap. Basically, a thesis statement is the heart of the essay because it tells the reader what is the flow of the whole essay. It gives them a general overview what the essay is about. A common formula would be topic, main point 1, main point 2, main point 3. But then again, this is the way of a very common way, which means if you really don't know how to come up with a thesis statement, you may follow this formula right here. However, like I said, if you have a different way of saying things, as long as it provides a general overview of the essay, I think that should be fine. You may write however you want. Writing should be done with your own style, right? It can be general or it can also be broad, depending on you. It can be placed anywhere in introductory paragraph. Certain people may like to start off their essay with thesis statement, straight away giving the overview. But most writers, however, start off with hook. They want to attract the reader's attention first and then continue talking about the background information and right after followed with a thesis statement. So most of the time, the main idea will be most of the time it will put or appears near the end of the introductory paragraph. However, you may write freely as long as it's there, okay? So another example is, let's say the topic is my favorite book and it is Harry Potter, let's say. Why do I like it? It teaches me about friendship, how to be brave, and what is sacrifice, what sacrifice is. So my thesis statement can be something like, there are plenty of reasons why I love Harry Potter, but the most prominent would be because it teaches me about friendship, main point 1, how to be brave, main point 2, and what sacrifice is, or what is sacrifice, main point 3. So you know that you are going to be reading about friendship, second paragraph, how to be brave, third paragraph, and what sacrifice is, fourth paragraph, followed by a concluding paragraph. Any question before we proceed to body paragraph? Suppose not. Okay. Introductory paragraph can be quite easy, but it could be a challenge when you don't know how to appeal to readers' attention properly. But then again, read a lot. That's all I can say. You know. So moving on, second part. Okay. So here comes topic sentence. In each body paragraph, you need to have a topic sentence which introduces the main idea and supporting details that supports the main idea and also give you examples. And the same structure applies to all body paragraph. If you have two, then two. If you have three main ideas, then three. Perhaps if you have four, it's still the same structure. And don't forget to include a transitional words in between each paragraph. Right? I'll show you the example afterwards. Now, before looking at the example, let's look what is a topic sentence. So earlier we had one friend who said thesis statement is a topic sentence. Almost correct, because topic sentence is the main idea of the whole essay. Sorry, thesis statement is the main idea of the whole essay, but topic sentence is the main idea of that particular paragraph. So remember, we have had this example, right? Plenty of reasons why I love Harry Potter, but the most prominent would be because it teaches me about friendship, how to be brave in what is sacrifice. This is introductory paragraph. Now, when you want to start the second paragraph, let me just show you here. When you want to start talking about it, this is, you have the introduction here, main idea 1, main idea 2, main idea 3, and then conclusion at the end. So once you have talked about the thesis statement, you introduce, and then now you want to introduce the first main idea. The first reason why I love the Harry Potter series is because it teaches me about friendship. And then continue talking about friendship. What is it about friendship? Friendship, Ron, Hermione, friendship, blah, 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 blah. Okay, full stop. Right? So basically everything is about this particular main idea. And how do you know that this is about it? Because you have this topic sentence. Topic sentence introduce the main idea in that paragraph. And then afterwards, it teaches you about bravery, right? So we have this phrase. Apart from that, this is transitional phrase. Transitional phrase, the function is to transition from one idea to the next. If you don't want to say apart from that, there are other words to say it, like furthermore, in addition, what else? Besides, okay? Or maybe you can say the second reason. I don't know. Everything is up to you. So apart from that, Harry Potter has also taught me how to be brave, and then start talking about his bravery. He kills dragon, he kills Voldemort, blah, 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 full stop. Everything about bravery, everything about friendship in the first part, and then bravery on the second part. And lastly, I learned what sacrifice is from the book. The mother killed herself, blah, 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 blah. No, not kill herself, but, you know, she protected him or things like that, okay? So everything about sacrifice in the third main idea. So these words, these phrases, the first reason, apart from that, lastly, these are all transitional phrases. Without transitional phrases, the readers don't know whether they have changed course or not. Are we still in main idea 1, or have we already changed to something else? Anyway, whichever way you plan to write it, as long as you shift their thoughts from main idea 1 to main idea 2, I consider that as an okay. Okay, as long as it helps to transition the idea. So that is the function. So I repeat one more time. Thesis statement is the main idea of everything. It gives you an overview. Topic sentence is the one that introduces the idea in that paragraph. So let's look here. It is the heart of the paragraph. It introduces the main idea of the paragraph. Now, the first reason why I love my mother is main point 1. Let's say I love my mother because she is caring, she is responsible, and she is also pretty. That is my thesis statement. I give you 3 reasons why I love my mother. So now I want to start talking about how she is a caring person. Main point 1. Start talking about caring. And then next, I love my mother because she is a responsible person. Blah, 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 blah. Talking about how she is being a responsible person. That is a topic sentence. You introduce first. How can you describe something when you don't even introduce it to the reader? Okay. Another example. Honesty is the main personality I'm looking for in a partner. So honesty is the main idea 1. Basically, you want to talk about the personalities in a partner that you are looking for. So perhaps the first idea is she should be an honest person. he should be an honest person, or maybe the next one would be a loving person. I don't know what kind of thing that you're looking for in a partner. That should be the second main idea, and also the third main idea. Whatever it is, you need to introduce it first before you can start describing it or discuss in length about it. Description or the first introduction, that should be the topic sentence. So clear so far? This is statement and topic sentence. Any question?
No questions.
Okay. So how you should be developing the idea, basically use questions to answer this, maybe how does Harry Potter teach you about friendship? Write it down. Why? Write it down. When? Write it down. So when you have all these questions to help you answer this, then that's how you develop the idea. Help you more about describing it. So maybe you can use all the WH questions, okay, to help you explain further. So basically that is main body paragraph. Last part, conclusion. Right, you need to have a concluding sentence. Rephrase your thesis statement. Rephrase means that you are saying the same thing differently. I love my mother because she is caring, responsible, and helpful. That is your thesis statement. You cannot copy and paste the same sentence in that one particular essay, because in a short essay, just 5 paragraphs, you can definitely tell when someone copying and pasting one sentence. So you should rephrase it, say it differently. These 3 personality traits, which are caring, responsible, and also beautiful, is the main reason why are the main reasons why I love my mother. The same thing, right? You are basically saying the same thing, but you just put it or phrase it differently. That means rephrase. So you rephrase your thesis statement and put it there in the concluding paragraph. What is the function? You are reminding the reader that you have read about main point 1, 2, and also 3. For thesis statement, you want to introduce to them. You are going to be reading about main point 1, 2, 3, but in concluding paragraph, you are reminding them, okay, you have read about this, this, and this. So the conclusion is, you put a hope or opinion, or you include a thought-provoking question or a series of short questions, prediction or recommendation. Right, I'll give you a short example, a simple example. For example, remember that fish and visitors smells after 3 days? Okay, let's say you have started off with the paragraph, main body 1, main body 2, main body 3. Now you want to conclude it. How should you end the story? So maybe if you want to put a thought-provoking question or a series of short questions, you may want to ask the reader, what do you think if this happens to you? Would you like it if the visitors did this and this to you? Again, you don't plan for them to give an answer, right? You just want them to think, what if it happens to them? Would you like it then? So it's like a thought-provoking. Kalau kena kat you, do you like it? Right? So that kind of thought-provoking question works well under controversial topics. When you are talking about controversial topics, you can put a thought-provoking questions. And then down there, maybe you can put some kind of hope or opinion to prettily close the essay. Or maybe you can do some kind of prediction or recommendation. Do not put all. Choose 1 or 2 and combine them. Okay, do not include everything. The main thing that you should remember is that a concluding paragraph or introductory paragraph cannot be longer than the body paragraph, because body paragraph is where you discuss things. So they should be way longer than conclusion and introduction. If the introduction is long, just because you have a lot to say about the background history, it really doesn't make sense, because you are not talking about the history. You want to discuss on the topic. So the conclusion at the end should be simple but very concise. Okay, it should give an impact. Right, so that is prediction and recommendation. I don't know, maybe hopes and opinion works for you. I hope that visitors will not do this later in my house. I don't know, whatever it is that you want to say. So basically, these are the three main parts that that makes up a very good essay. So far, any question regarding the structure? Okay, maybe not. Okay, fine. So this is just the structure of an essay. Now we're gonna look at argumentative. So we have been, before I start talking about argumentative itself, I definitely need to show you what are the structures, right? So you have learned them, I know, but it's just like a way to refresh the memory a bit. Now let's start talking about the one that you have to write about next week. So last 2 weeks, like I mentioned, we did a practice on argumentative where you have to discuss things. So I gave you all a statement and I asked whether you agree or disagree with my statement. So basically, argumentative is about arguing something. You have been doing this a lot of time with your friends, with your siblings, maybe even your parents at a point. And what is the function of argument? Argue. You want to win, right? You definitely want to win. You want to make sure that people agree with you. You want to make sure that they understand your point. You want to make sure that they see things like how you say it. So at the end of the session, you want to win that argument. That is argumentative. And how do you plan to win? You don't simply say things, right? You provide reasons to back things up. You provide examples to make sure that your claim, your argument is valid. Unlike comparing and contrasting, compare and contrast, you are weighing both things. This has advantages. This one also has advantages. Let's say I say about Samsung and iPhone, Android and iPhone, let's say. Which one is better? Is it Samsung or iPhone? Some of you might be having a very, very strong opinion. iPhone is like way, way superior than Samsung. But another person could be saying, no, Samsung is, I think, better, way better than iPhone. So both of you have different kind of opinion. But there is one person who might be thinking, oh, this one has advantages, this one also has disadvantages, and they both have drawbacks. So let's weigh them first before we make a decision. That is comparing and contrasting. You compare and contrast first before you choose one side. But that doesn't work with argumentative. Argumentative, in order for you to argue, you need to choose a side first. So it's either you agree or disagree. You cannot be on the fence, no? So you cannot be on the fence and say, all right, I think this is okay. This one has its drawbacks. No, you cannot do it that way. It's okay with the comparing and contrasting essay, but not with argumentative essay, because argumentative essay is very strong. You are persuading people to agree with you. Therefore, I personally believe that argumentative essay is difficult because it's not easy to change a person's opinion. No. You can argue all you want. You can raise the voice all you want, but will that change their mind? Not necessarily so. So you need to know what is the good way or the best way to actually argue properly or persuade properly. So what exactly is argumentative essay again? It is a writing that takes stance on an issue. Remember I asked you, school uniform. Should school uniform be retained? Some say yes, some say no. And you all have your own opinion on it. So when you are arguing something, you attempt to persuade people to agree with you. To persuade the readers to understand and support their point of view by stating reasoning and providing evidence to back it up. If you simply say, I think school uniforms are no longer valid nowadays. Okay, why? Not really sure why, but I don't think people should wear school uniforms. Is that strong? Is that helping people to understand? Or do you think that can somehow persuade people? No. You need to tell them or appeal to them. It can be whether emotionally or maybe with facts. I don't know how you plan to approach it, but it should be trying to change their mind. So let's say this is my cat and me right here. My cat is better than yours. This is my argument. So what are my evidence? I don't simply say my cat is better. I love it. Okay, I love my cat. That's why it's better. I should provide reasons. My cat is way better because it's of the munchkin breed, with very short legs and very cute, and the fur is very soft. So all these reasons. And your cat is just like a normal tomcat that you can find anywhere, a very kampong one. But then again, that is just my opinion. Can I change their mind? Perhaps yes, perhaps no. So argumentative essay is basically persuading people to agree with you. Right. So there are 5 types of argument claims. What is argument claims? Basically, how to approach the idea. So remember last time when we talked about sexual education, should it be carried out in school? Some say yes, some say no, right? And your reasonings, they all differ. Some say in terms of health. Some says in terms of modesty, where it aligns or not aligned with the religious teaching. So the way you approach things, that is argument claims. Okay, so it's either based by facts, definition, value, cause and effect, or even policy. So I think if you want to talk about it being under health and things like that, it could be under facts. You can also put cause and effect. Okay. Again, how you write things, your writing skills. Opinion is not strong enough, only used to emotionally appeal to your readers. That is opinion. I believe, I strongly believe, but that is just your belief. It's not something factual. But if you go for health aspect, like how it can save a lot of babies, like how it can save you when you are teaching sexual education to students, that is fact, because you are talking about something that is concrete. If you want to talk about something that you have a value that you held high, that is the importance of the argument. Okay. Again, I cannot tell you which one or which aspect to choose because everything goes back to you, how you would like to approach the question. Policy, why the reader should care and what they should do after reading it. So you can also put health under policy, right? It's a fact, but what should happen right after? Maybe policy of the education system, perhaps the Ministry of Education should be doing what and what to ensure that students, maybe to change the name of the subject so that people have less negative connotation about it. So these are all policy. It's not value, but it's policy. Okay. I honestly hope that you can understand up to the point. I hope I'm not confusing you.
Yes, it's not confusing.
I believe that's for you, Karaisi. I don't know about the rest. Okay, the rest of you, if you do have questions, do not hesitate to ask, okay? Right, moving on. So let's say this is the topic. PTPTN loaners should be blacklisted if they fail to pay their study loans. Now let's start with the introduction. So perhaps once you have chosen your hook, whatever your hook should be, and then you start to have a little background information. What is PTPTN? So if any of you don't know, PTPTN is a kind of financial aids given to students who want to pursue their studies. And of course, it is a financial aid. It is supposed to be paid back. Unless you fall under special categories where you pass with very, very flying colors, then you don't have to pay back and regard them as scholarship. Okay, but the idea is PTPTN loaners should be blacklisted. by the banks if they fail to pay their study loans. Let's say I agree with this notion. I agree with the motion and I say, but I don't know which aspect should I go into. Let's say I want to emotionally appeal to my readers, so I go for value. It is of high integrity for you to repay what you have borrowed because it is not something that is forced on you. You choose this, you apply for this, so you need to be responsible for it, right? Maybe that is the first value that you want to talk about. And maybe perhaps you want to talk about empathy because you are empathizing with younger students. Currently, you have finished your study, you have graduated, but younger students, not everybody can be helped by PTPTN because less financial aids can be provided due to limited resources. Those who have finished their study didn't plan to pay back, so they don't have enough money to help the young ones. Maybe it's empathy that you are looking for. So if emotional appeal is what you are playing at, then go for value. But if you want to go a little bit more concrete, you might want to go for policy. So PTPTN policy is when you are blacklisted, you will be listed under CCRIS. CCRIS means if you have your name here in CCRIS, it means that it will reflect fully on your credit history. Difficult for you to buy assets. You cannot even buy cars, let alone house. You cannot apply for other loans, any kind of loans, and you cannot even travel abroad. It will be very difficult for you to apply for credit cards because very poor credit history if your name is listed under CCRIS. That is the policy of PTPTN. So this is very strong, right? If you want to go for something concrete like this, you must know your game. So if you know this, then write it. But if you don't, then do not make things up. Go for value. Let's say you want to include both. I know a few, right? I know a few parts of the policy a bit. So let's go for cause and effect then. What causes the borrowers to not pay and what are the consequences? So the first idea you put what causes and afterwards you talk about the consequences. So you can mix and match somehow, include a few here and there, but either way, you decide your own approach. If you plan to go for something a little bit more sentimental, go for value, emotionally appealing. But if you want to go for something that is very strong, very concrete, then go for facts or policy, okay? But of course, I don't expect you to have all the statistics, the numbers, the research, the percentage, because it is a test. Definitely, you cannot do the research on the topic. So just write what you know. So the 5 steps of writing an argumentative essay. Definitely, you need to start with introduction. It provides background information and states your thesis. And this is the additional part. You need to put a counter argument. It addresses opposing views and disprove them or explain why you disagree. We'll talk more about it. And then followed by main point 1, main point 2, and conclusion. Now, in the previous slide, I showed you that you need to have 3 main points. But for an argumentative essay, it's okay to only have 2 because you have an additional paragraph, which is counter argument. And maybe you want to talk more or you want to talk a lot about this first and second points. There are a lot of things for you to discuss in order for it to seem persuasive. Therefore, it's okay to have only 2 main ideas. And counter argument can be placed right after introduction before main point 1 or right after main point 2 before the conclusion. Choose one, either or. Okay, it's either here or here. Now let's talk about counter argument. What exactly is a counter argument, everyone? It's a viewpoint that opposes your main argument. And why do we use it? To show readers that you know and understand the opposing idea. So let me show you an example. Let's say the topic is still the one, PTPTN, still the same thing. So the ones that we had here just now, all these main ideas, basically it agrees with the claim. Based on this value and even policy, it seems like the writer agrees that PTPTN loaners should be blacklisted if they fail to pay their study loans. Otherwise, they're going to be having this or this. So it means that the counter argument, I should address those opposing me. If I agree that PTPTN loaners should be blacklisted, the other team should be saying no, they shouldn't be blacklisted. So here in this paragraph, I am acknowledging their ideas. So let's see. Some people may argue that many fresh graduates find it hard to make ends meet with their current salary, meaning they don't have the money to pay. Why should they be paying now when they don't even have much? The salary is low, but everything is high, like even, they need to go for accommodation, transportation, giving money to parents and things like that. So they don't have extra to spend on PTPTN. So that's why some people argue that many fresh graduates find it hard to make ends meet with their current salary. This phrase right here, however, it shows that I am opposing. I address the opposing view and I disprove them, or I explain why I disagree. However, it is not a ticket for them to be irresponsible. If their argument focuses on the high monthly payment, PTPTN has come up with many alternatives to address the issue. Loaners are now given discounts as well as lower monthly rate. They just have to be willing to accept their responsibilities. So this part, right after however until the end, it's me disproving them and explain why I disagree by having this phrase, however, to show an opposing view. All right. So basically, I acknowledge them, or maybe the writer acknowledge them. I understand where you are coming from. I understand your main point, your point of view, but that's not how it works. So why is it important to counter argue? Imagine if that person arguing with you keep on talking about his or her point, keep on talking without having a single pause and acknowledge your idea. He or she will seem very, very egocentric, I would say. Everything is about him. He just want to win without even considering my idea. So the function of a counter argument is to show readers that you are credible. You have considered both, but you still choose your side. I have looked at both, but I still think that I still believe in what I believe in because I disprove them. All this because giving them the reason why I disagree with you, you need to have that. And later on, continue with the main point 1, main point 2. So in this case, your main point 1 and main point 2 can comes from value or policy, depending, or maybe even cause and effect. Okay? Is this okay with everyone? Can you all understand what an argumentative essay is?
Yes, I do.
Right. Okay. What about the rest of you? Any problem?
No.
I hope I have helped you to see it clearly. Right, now let's see at a simple argumentative essay. Okay. So let's look at the first paragraph. I really don't encourage you to follow this one. I just want you to follow how they structure the essay. But the first paragraph is very short. If you can see, it's just one sentence and it shouldn't be done this way. So you have to stick to the one that I taught you. You need to have hook, you need to have background information and also the thesis statement. So as online learning becomes more common and more resources are converted to digital form, some people have suggested that public libraries should be shut down and in their place, everyone should be given an iPad with an e-reader subscription. So what does it tell you? It means that public libraries are no longer needed. Do you agree or disagree with that? Personally, what do you think?
It's a fun place, but right now it's a bit how do you call it? It's a bit redundant.
Mm-hmm. Redundant why? Because you have
Since most information you can find online anyways.
right. So this is what these people are saying. Some people suggested that public libraries should be shut down. And look at the second part. Proponents of this idea, meaning people who agree with this motion right here, state that it will save local cities and town money because libraries are expensive to maintain. They also believe it will encourage more people to read because they won't have to travel to library to get a book. They can simply click on what they have to read and read it from wherever they are. They could also access more materials because libraries won't have to buy physical copies of book. They can simply rent out as many digital copies as they need. So this particular paragraph is basically counter-argument. It acknowledged the idea that the opposing proponent have. Because on the third paragraph, he or she, this writer, rebut the idea. However, it would be a serious mistake to replace libraries with tablets, and they start giving in their ideas, the first main idea. So for example, this one, first, digital books and resources are associated with less learning and more problems. Let's look. This person has been putting in facts and also statistic percentage to show that this is what happened when people are reading on screen. They have problems which are people read 20 to 30% slower on tablet. They retain 20% less information and understand 10% less of what they read. Additionally, staring too long at the screen has been shown to cause numerous health problems. So this part means that the writer disagrees that you should be given an iPad with an e-reader subscription only. It is helpful, yes, but it doesn't mean that printed version should be cost out. Second, it is incredibly narrow-minded to assume that the only service libraries offer is book lending. Libraries have a multitude of benefits, and many are only available if the library has a physical location. So basically, they are talking about having it as a quiet study place, holding classes on a variety of topics, basically keeping the community in touch. So perhaps use the building as a to be used by the community to do events or things like that. So first main idea, second main idea, but this part is here to show that I understand your point. I somehow agree to an extent, but I cannot wholeheartedly agree with you because of main point 1 and also main point 2. Okay, so at the end, you conclude with, I don't know, whichever you want to, a series of short questions. You want to put hope, you want to put opinion, recommendation, prediction, that is up to you. Choose one or two and combine them. So this writer right here says that while replacing libraries with tablets may seem like a simple solution, it would encourage people to spend even more time looking at digital screens despite the myriad issues surrounding them. This is prediction. The writer is predicting that people will look at more digital screens, which is not good. It will also end access to many of the benefits of libraries that people have come to rely on. In many areas, libraries are such an important part of the community network that they could never be replaced by a simple object. So here is the outlining. So I will share this with you on Google Classroom. You can look for it afterwards. It has the consequences, and I am putting an emphasis on the claim. So basically, this is what is expected of you. 5 paragraphs. The first one is introduction. The second one can be counter-argument. Okay, main point 1, main point 2, or perhaps you want to put the counter-argument right here, depending on your preference. And lastly, the concluding paragraph. Okay. Any question, anyone? Right. So while you are still thinking of the question you want to ask me, I'm going to explain about next week. Okay, so next week will be the writing test. So I will give you the question on Google Classroom, right? Previously, I used My Guru for it, but it was such a nightmare because I have to download every script. Meaning, if I have like around 300 students, I have to download all 300 documents. And sometimes some of you even forgot to put your real name rename the document as your name. I don't even know whose this is, right? When I have downloaded everything. So it annoys me at a point because I have to do double work for that. So for this time around, I want to use Google Classroom. Everybody will submit on Google Classroom because everything is in the cloud. I don't have to download anything, and we'll stick it that way. Okay. So the duration, I will start at 11 during class hour. 11 a.m. Supposedly, the duration is 1 hour, but personally, I don't think you can write a very good essay where you discuss on a lot of points within 1 hour. So I allow you to submit at 1 o'clock. So I give you extra 1 hour for this. Okay, everyone?
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So really, if you have question, please ask now, right? While I am still discussing, if you have anything you don't understand, do not ask your friend because your friends don't know also. Ask me. So that is the duration. The type of question, of course, it is an argumentative essay question. I will give you during the test. So at the start of 11, on 11 o'clock itself, I will show you the question and you have to do it and upload or send your answer on Google Classroom. What else do you need to know? Okay, how long should it be? Normally it says not more than 350 words, but 350 words is very short. So I allow you to write as long as it doesn't go overboard like 3 pages. No, I think the limit should be 2 pages. That would be the longest you should be writing. 1.5 is great. Okay, 1 page is also okay. So yeah, 1 to 1.5 page. Maximum would be 2, and do not go overboard. Right. What else? What else do you need to know about next week? Of course, I'm going to run every answers on the plagiarism checker. So if it is 10% more of copying, then I will have to deduct a mark. So, I really don't suggest you to find answers on Google because that's what I mean. If you don't know what is the facts about it, then you go for value, something that can appeal emotionally, because I don't want you to waste time finding answers on Google and then you cannot help but somehow copy some of the sentences because you don't know how to rephrase it. Perhaps you don't intend to copy at all, but since you find the answers online, so you don't know how to rephrase it, it somehow reflects on the writing and it can be detected via the plagiarism checker. So my suggestion would be, do not Google at all. Just write what you think is correct for you, because I believe that doing it yourself is way more. I really appreciate effort, in other words, right? So do it yourself, regardless of if you think your writing skill is bad. I don't really mind as long as everything is by you. So avoid Googling anything because you cannot help but somehow being accidentally copying the sentence, right? Okay, so that is it. Anything else you need to know? What else should I tell you?
I want to ask, is it tomorrow or is it next week?
And next week, during class hour next week.
Okay,
So
thank you.
week 7, yeah? Okay, so this is week 6, everyone. Last week you have done your listening test. It was 20%, and I will upload the marks later. For this writing test, this is also 20%. Okay, 20% solely on the writing. So if you copy at one point, I will not hesitate to deduct the mark. Okay. And on, I think week 9, if I'm not mistaken, week 9, you will have another test, which is the grammar test, 10%. So 20 for listening, 20 for writing, 10 for grammar on week 9, combining up to 50%. For this particular subject, you don't have any assignment. Everything is ongoing assessment. Everything is test. And afterwards, you will have your speaking test. I believe on week 10 or week 11, have yet to decide. Yes, talking about speaking test, do you already have your grouping?
Yeah.
Okay, so as a reminder, for those who have no idea about what I'm talking about, you need to be in a group of 4. So let's see how many of you in this group, I don't remember. Sorry. So group G, there are 42 of you. Okay, so there are 42 of you. Meaning that we are going to be having 10 groups. 10 groups. 8 groups consist of 4 members and another 2 groups will have 5 members. So if you haven't done it, I want you to list down the name of the grouping, the members, so that those without groups can know which group to join. Please list them. It's either, simply write it on Telegram group, or you want to create a different document for it. I don't know. Do it. As long as everybody can see who is not in the group yet. So I repeat, 10 groups, 8 groups with 4 members and another 2 groups with 5 members. So you decide which groups will have 5. So this will be done, if I'm not mistaken, I plan it to be on week 10 or perhaps 11, depending on situations. So questions for that will be given during the test, okay? As long as you have the members ready, I suppose that is okay. And the discussion is also relating to argumentative. So you need to provide your ideas, you need to discuss, you need to persuade people. Everything is about arguing and persuading, discussing in other ways, okay? So that is speaking test, another 20%, individual as well. But somehow grouping, but for the grouping mark, it's just very, very tiny, like I think 5 to 8% for group marks, and the rest is just yours. And followed by that 30% for your final exam, and that's it. So next week, writing test. If you cannot take the test due to any reason, valid reason, preferably, text me earlier, okay? And if you submit late, remember I said you have to submit within 11 to 1 p.m., 2 hours, right? If you are submitting late, I will deduct 1 mark for each late hours. So let's say you submit 1:30, that's like almost 1 hour late, 1 mark will be deducted. If you submit around 2:15, it's the second hour you are late, 2 marks will be deducted. So marks will be deducted according to how many late hours. If you really have problem, do let me know so I know not to deduct your mark with valid reason, okay? Any other question before we start the session? Okay, all right. If you have no further question, then I will just take your attendance for the day. When I call your name, please respond. Right, Tiffin Lipaya, are you here? If you have problem, with the microphone, you can write your answer. So I repeat, Tiffin Lipaya,
Me.
Ernie Nadia Fariza,
Me, doctor.
Can you please call me madam? I feel shy because I'm not doctor. Emily Pamela.
I'm here.
Vaishnavi. Vaishnavi. Okay. Haziq Irfan Yusri.
Here, madam.
Fai Akid.
Madam, yes.
Muhammad Hakimi Tamizi.
Ada, madam.
Mahathir
Sorry,
Adi.
Madam Vaishnavi is present.
Yes, madam.
Oh, Vaishnavi here. Okay. Mahathir Adi also here. Hazika Zakira.
I'm here, madam.
Kia Satina Husna.
Yes, madam.
Myra Atira. Myra Atira. Okay. Muhammad Syamir Rusli.
Madam.
Razrin Rohayu.
Yes, madam.
Danish. Okay. Danish Farhan.
Yes, madam.
Nurul Fashiha.
Yes, madam.
Nur Zuria Nabila.
Yes, madam.
Muhammad Shukri.
I'm here, madam.
Daniel Ashraf. Daniel. Okay. Nur Ain Fatiha.
Here, madam.
Nur Hazira Sabiti.
Yes, madam.
Shakira Sobri. Is it a yes? I barely hear you. Okay. Sarvantire.
Yes, madam.
Mary Ho.
Yes, madam.
Afrina Atika.
I'm here, madam.
Winsome Dow.
Yes, madam.
Clarissa John.
Here, madam.
Adriana.
Here, madam.
Sharifa Alfira.
Madam.
Ahmad Fahim. Fahim. Okay. Kirtisha.
Present, madam.
Aiman Danish.
Here, madam.
Ahmad Danish. Muzir. Okay. Kuraizi.
I'm here.
Rabiatul Maisara.
Yes, madam.
Shamima Adriana.
Yes, madam.
Suhaila Azman. Suhaila. Hikmah. Nur Hikmah binti. Oh, Hikmah texted me yesterday. Nur Izzati Cik Nordin. So just Izzati. Aina Farhana.
Yes, madam.
Anik Daniel.
Yes, madam.
Suhair Azhar. And Venkat Sanjeev. Venkat, you around?
Yeah.
Okay. So those who are not here, let me just.
I'm here.
No, Izzati, you're here. Okay. Ahmad Danish.
Madam. Yeah. Madam.
Ahmad Fahim, Muhammad Nisa. And Daniel Ashraf.
Yeah, madam.
Umaira Atira. Okay, that's all. So everybody attend.
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, hey, you. Go back. Okay. All right, that is it. So I'll see you all in 2 weeks' time, because next week I'm going to not be seeing you because you are going to be having the test, and that is all. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good day.
Yeah, madam.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, madam.